Welcome back, everybody, to the Proving Ground. It is another day of some fantastic Counter-Strike action. And as the days progress, as the bracket progresses further, the matches just keep on getting more and more intense. Josh and I are here to take you through it. Josh, what are your thoughts on the day?
Yeah, I'm excited. We've got a lot of those round of 16 games out of the way, which naturally end up being quite one-sided because you've got the playoffs invitee teams facing up against the top of the Swiss stage, and a lot of the time they're very different in the rankings, right? So we have seen a fair few one-sided games, but we have seen a few close ones as well. But yeah, we get into the meat of things. It's the quarterfinals. It's some of the big dogs stepping up now, and these should be some really, really good matches. Obviously, up first we got and ENCE, and I think it's going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fun game to watch. We saw the weaknesses that can come through from Saw yesterday. We've also seen issues from ENCE a couple of times, and I think the narrative of both of these teams, they've obviously been doing really well to maintain their rank. They're actually right neck and neck in the world rankings as well.
Yep.
Now, I would really like to see how these two pieces are going to clash together, because we've not really had a chance to generate a yardstick as of late. It's been a while since these organizations have actually stepped up to each other, and now that they're doing it when they are both in a form where they're like quite even Steven, I think that's going to be a really interesting game to watch. Of course, later on, we do have the rest of the quarterfinals as well. Fnatic and Amiga, Beterra, ESC, and Partizan versus Foot. So, a lot to watch, a lot to digest here today, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that Partizan Foot game is kind of interesting. In fact, that whole right-hand side of the bracket is kind of interesting for me because there was a couple of underdog wins. Yeah, there was a couple of, in fact, there were 3 underdog wins of the Swiss stage teams beating the invitees. So you've got sort of a double whammy of it at the bottom there with Beterra and ESC, and then up on the top end, Partizan beating BetBoom was a big surprise, right? I think neither of us were necessarily expecting that yesterday. So, and neither were the odds, frankly. So, yeah, whether or not Partizan can hold a torch to Foot is going to be a big question mark for me. We'll take a look at the rosters, though, here on Saw. We've got Muteris, Story, Agil, and then the 2 newer pieces, Aragorn and Crazy. These guys looked really good yesterday against Gigi Hao. It was 2-0. They were, they were dominating on Dust 2. Gigi Hao then did kind of wake up a little bit and claw it back. Then we saw that unfortunate default situation on map 2 where, it was sort of semi-contentious. I think it was 4-4 or something like that. And in fact, I think it was maybe a little bit deeper into the game.
No. On Nuke, it was like 2-1, and we were done.
Really? No, I think we were 7 or 8 rounds in.
Yeah, no, it was dead in the water, my guy. It's just hard to remember because obviously, like, there was a little comeback on Dust 2 as well, right? So
a default win, but I think they would have won it anyway. I think it's the point I'm trying to make there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they would have had it anyway.
Yeah, that being said, though, on the other side of the bracket, we have ENCE. Of course, these guys have been doing a fantastic job as of late as well. I mean, overall, I would say, but in some of their recent games, actually, they've struggled against teams that I would generally put them a little bit ahead of, right? Like, you've got the Gun 5s, you've got the Foots. Those types of teams, like, I would see them generally, like, this type of roster have no trouble getting past. And then you look at some of the rosters, like Sangal, for instance. Although it makes sense that that's still a very difficult game, I would still expect them to not be struggling in the deep end, getting those close score lines. I got a chance to look at their game last time they played against Sangal, and they did get 13-5 in one map. Now they were able to come back and clean it up on Ancient and Nuke, but on Overpass, ENCE were absolutely outsmarted and out-delivered. So I kind of want to see what's going on with ENCE at the moment. I think Saw are in like slightly better form, I would like to say, but then even then, like, they haven't exactly faced the best caliber of opposition as of late. So this is going to be their first big challenge in a very long time. Like, for Saw, realistically speaking, even though they've been maintaining their ranking and everything, right? Like, the strongest team that they actually had to face and they defeated was Gentlemates. But other than that, like, you've got a bunch of mixed lineups, and then like 2 weeks ago they faced Big, and with the form that Big is in, a loss against them is kind of a big question mark. So I think we could see a situation where both teams are kind of caught off guard with how their form's been looking as of late. That being said, though, we've got the veto readied up. Nuke, Dust 2, and Overpass. Nuke's been a really popular pick in the Proving Grounds, even if it hasn't been played all the way to fruition every time.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting sort of what you say with ENCE being a team that are always considered on like a slightly higher level, but yeah, always quite consistently playing these sort of tier 2, tier 3 tournaments, and yeah, the majority of their wins are against opponents that are just sort of below them, I guess. They did kind of pull the short straw though in terms of their opening match. Sengal are a very difficult and often dark horse team. ENCE, Rigon, putting that past them, saying it's fine, we can do that against anybody. And they swoop in with a very, very fast pistol round. That was over and done within a matter of a couple of seconds, and saw a kick to the curb in the pistol of their own map pick.
That definitely feels like a punch to the gut. Very nicely done by ENCE. A very easy cleanup for them with the Toolies and company. Now SAR are going to have to wait it out. No bomb plan, no nothing, so left completely high and dry as they essentially wait to be mowed down. Perhaps waiting for a little bit of utility to expire from the camp offense. Have you been much of an ENCE watcher lately?
Yeah, I mean, not by choice. It's kind of our job, but yeah,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I've covered a few of their games recently. Yeah, I've covered a few of their games. They were at that that event as well. The one the other weekend. Odie. They're going to just make light work of this. I'm pretty surprised they've even allowed a bomb plant here, but yeah, they're not going to get much more out of it. The last couple of ENCE games I've covered, this has kind of been a bit of a narrative that I've talked about, because obviously Rigon's like the most recent piece in this team. You've got 3 players that have come up from the academy now, right? And I don't think that ENCE have necessarily like sort of done that out of choice. I think they've been put in like awkward positions where they've had to find a new player and have promoted someone up from the academy that, you know, rightfully deserves the place because they're playing it exceptionally well. But yeah, they're still young and inexperienced, and you got Sundai Young IGL in this roster. And obviously, previously, they had Glaven in this team as well. So there's always been like that one experienced head of the side. But the rest are young and inexperienced. And sometimes I feel like, you know, when we look at the cams and whatnot later in the games, they're kind of molding, they're looking a little bit quiet. Rigon is like the perfect antidote to that. He's so loud and like energetic, and you see when he's winning rounds, he's getting pumped, and he's quite a showman. And there's so many times where like we see in pauses and just on the cameras in general, where Rigon's getting really vocal and he's getting really loud and he's bringing lots of energy, and I like that a lot, because yeah, it doesn't feel like anyone else in the team's doing that.
ENCE, he's going to need some of that energy if he wants to hold off of ramp. Molotov to buy him some time, but they will try and chase him down. Quick shift walk to start scaling the distance without letting them know what the game plan is. Here comes the utility. Recon on the shoulder peak finds one. Hasn't quite found shots in, though. ENCE waiting, found by Aragorn, and Story's going to win his duel as well. And although there's so little HP on 3 of the players evenly split up, there's no chance that ENCE go for this. They know that they've already got to recede back into passivity, maybe go all the way to CT spawn, make sure these weapons are safe and sound for the next one. If 3 players can survive, then they can have a round with all the bells and whistles to go for the next. Obviously, I think if they had the info that 3 players are low, they might have at least... I mean, I don't know still, but they could have wagered it. But 5v3, come on. Gotta fork that round over. Saw. A very nice round for them that somehow ends up being as clean as it is. I thought as they were walking into ramp, they'd get picked up. Especially with the little crossfire that they had going. But I really like that the precedent being set already in this game is that Saw ENCE, they're going to be locking horns. ENCE not allowed to get too far before Saw can immediately make their mark. The guns and utilities still available.
Okay. Yeah, plenty of money. Still here with those saved rifles. ENCE back out with a strong bite. There won't be money behind it to do it again, so they do kind of need to lock in and take this third. It's often the way it goes. You win the pistol, you win this follow-up. When you go into that third round, you often still have a little bit of sort of a bonus in play or whatever. The T's come at you with a little bit more force, a little more firepower. Saw down Secret, trying to route towards the lower site. Miltzy's just tucked himself into the vent on a good timing, but he is here by himself. No support, no crossfire. If he gets taken out without much of a fight, there could be a problem, but he's opened the double doors, so it's kind of keep him distracted. And that's brilliant. That's perfect.
Yeah, manages to get a kill, gets away. Not a singular scratch that is meaningful on the ENCE roster. Pody gets spotted because he fires off a couple of shots, or he would have just let them cross, and that's going to be his downfall story. Checks for him. And Saw now have a little bit of control everywhere on the map. They're deep into garage. They have main. Bottom bomb site is also a big question mark. Things could get tricky.
Story is out. Lovely headshot onto Miltzy. Surprised that the rotations hadn't come in a little bit quicker after that opening kill from Miltzy, and it felt pretty perfect, right? It's sort of a silly little micro, but him opening the double doors and then wrapping around just kind of gives this illusion. When you see that door open inwards, you're assuming that, you know, someone's going for the jump spots or whatever, and it allows him to find that first kill, slip back to the site, take a man advantage that for a while goes untraded. And in that case, I thought we'd see some rotations head over, but ENCE was sort of worried about the prospect of that just being a fake and saw routing elsewhere. They were just a little bit slow on it, so gave them the opportunity to get out onto B, continue their duels, and yeah, get that bomb down. Second on the board, things tied up at 2 apiece, and with 2 rifles saved again, yeah, they can kind of go for another buy. Someday I'm going to be down to like an SMG, but run it back one last time.
Slow progression outside. In fact, Aragorn is actually quite far up, and he's going to have the chance to keep inching forward. Behind the blue box, he finds Pody. And Story posted on the angle that Miltzy's going to pop out of means that this is a couple of duels that go completely untraded. A little bit of damage sprinkled onto Story, but that is all they're going to get for their troubles, except Sumdai Young gets his hands dirty by himself, switches over to the AK-47 and knows that Muteris is around the corner to chase. But I'm not even sure what ENCE are supposed to do here. They're kind of locked in with sharks circling around them on every single angle. Someone needs to break the mold here, but any angle that they can possibly peek out of has someone waiting for them. 45 seconds, though. That's the one thing that is in ENCE's favor. Could potentially funnel the players from Saw in. Now you can see Saw are wanting to finalize this move. 30 seconds to go, so can't take any further risks. Aragorn slowly creeping up. Spotted by Regon. Info gained. Goes forward, finds Aragorn on the awkward angle, and now desperately trying to get onto A. They have overcooked this. They take long enough. That is just going to be Agile remaining. 10 seconds, 2 kills to find. And I don't think this luxury is going to be allowed. ENCE they'll disallow Saw from inching forward.
That's a big round. That would have completely left them broke. Had they lost it, and Saw could have really sort of pulled away, and on the T side a nuke, that's a scary, scary sight. They hit 3 rounds here, they've had a freebie in the 4th, and then you're really closing in on a good half. And we've only just gotten started in the series. Rigon's down to a FAMAS, but everybody else has kind of got all the bells and whistles. 92's got to save AK. Pody with his AWP that he carried across. Stolen from the other side. Vent dive. They can have B for free. They'll get another plant at least. Or will they? A shot Miltsy. Pody. Where's the molly? Oh, it's short. It actually doesn't do any damage.
I'm actually really enjoying the fact that there's such a nice little tango that both of these teams have going on. You know, it's very easy to fall into the trap of just the defenders absolutely nuking the hell out of the T side on nuke specifically. But that's not going to be an issue at all. Oh, Cody. Oh, dude. I can't believe Pody just looks away with the baby's mindset of thinking if they can't see me, if I can't see them, they can't see me.
It happens. It's kind of the way your brain works.
Yeah, when you're a child.
I don't know, it's still the way mine works.
Fair enough.
I might be cooked. Well, it's just a full eco here. Finally, you know, one of these two teams breaks the other. We haven't really seen all that so far, right? It's been real back and forth forces. It's been pretty relentless. Finally, we'll see sort of a quote-unquote freebie. ENCE's intention to deal some damage here. If they get lucky, maybe there's a chance for more. Pody, not going to go for any spams through the smoke. He does hear them crossing though, so he should be able to relay this information. I thought he was going to try and look for a timing, but they are very ready for this. It's great awareness from Agil as well.
And the tango will continue. Although Saw are guaranteed to inch ahead in this round. Money's going to creep in for next time. And ENCE are going to have a chance to stop Saw at 4. It's very interesting how quickly Saw have been clawing back in the rounds that they have, right? Like, the rounds they're losing, they're quite slow, quite deliberate from ENCE. But then whenever Saw try to up the ante, when they try and go for a much faster pace, it feels like ENCE are always overwhelmed. Even in this round, right? First few seconds, they push right in. Easy does it, but obviously against pistols, it's a little different. But then previous round as well, the only thing that took time was the fact that they had to hunt for the saver. Oh, Saw. Looking to do something much faster again. Right through the smoke we go. Angel finds Nate Yu. And Regon's still creeping around in the smoke. He's hoping that he can find a singular angle. Unfortunately for him, a stray bullet is going to strike him in the shoulder and he's done.
Yeah, finished. This was a bad buy at the start from ENCE. They had 2 FAMASs in play here. And when things are sort of going back and forth as they have been, it just doesn't do your loss bonus any favors. So even when you do find yourself in what's supposed to be a buy round, there's often not really enough cash to, you know, have all the bells and whistles. And that includes having to drop down to a couple of FAMASs to accommodate util. Eventually a trade from Sunday Young, but he's wiped out as well. There was really no reason for Saw not to go hunting with, you know, players on or around 5 figures. And they end up with just the 1 casualty with 3 kills at the end of that, so not bad at all. So they certainly start to look like the more potent side on the server right now.
Doesn't take long for Saw to break away from the pack and start piling on rounds to what looks to be their map pick. I mean, Saw have very recently like obviously been a very potent nuke team, but what really scares me for ENCE is the fact that they're also going into Saw's Dust 2. It's a very comfortable map for them, at least it has been so far. Although Saw don't really get too many reps in on Dust 2, and they kind of struggled against closing it out against GG How, we don't really have any... we don't really have much of a negative sample just yet, right? Like, if you just tried to fill in the gaps with the data that we have, then it would all look hunky-dory. Now, obviously, that's not how data should work.
You're telling me you can't just fill in the blanks with whatever numbers fit your narrative, and then there you go?
Yeah, you can. It's called being on Twitter.
Oh, right. Yeah, fine.
Me, when I apply weighted averages to a sample size of 5 maps, that's going to work out.
So you're going to say that's
extrapolate.
What, like, it's called being a politician. Being one of those government scientists that they hire to talk about climate change.
Josh, we're not going down this route again.
You get thrown off air, thrown in prison. This is very damaging to our democracy. You know what I'm talking about? You know that clip?
No.
It's like
I have no idea, and I'd rather not know.
It's like it's every single American news network, and there's like the clip of like them saying like the same sentence, and it's like, oh yeah, no, they're not all scripted, and yeah, it's funny. Stupid video. I'll send it to you. We're back on the way. Get a little trade early on. Miltsy keeps the numbers even for about half a second. And then Saw just swarm outside, hit the shots. Miltsy still keeping a lid on things. But it seems like every time he hits a shot, there's a trade elsewhere on the map. And we're back into a 3-on-2.
Saw a little unwavering most of the time. Shot from Nate Yu. I think he also barely got the audio cue that There's a rotation happening towards A, so he's preemptively going to be ready, and that is the bomb down. Now, he's got the chance to do the funniest thing for his team. Oh, catches Angel with the final spray and a triple to close it out. NateU is going to be fed all three. Doesn't even have to work for that final meal. Good round.
Yeah, very good round. A bad one for Sword to lose. Felt like they had the advantages. As we go into number 11, there's still going to be plenty of cash on Saw. We've been talking about this for a while now, but yeah, it won't deplete before the halfway point. Even if they lose this round, there'll be plenty to go into the next. Spams away. NateU does draw first blood. Young's in a really powerful position, but not any longer. There's fire at his feet. He's got to extinguish it, and now try and escape. The flash is good. Oh my god, he's still getting stuck. He's still getting stuck. That is so awkward. Had a little window of opportunity while they were blinded. He didn't find it. Now they're down secret in a 4v4.
Oh wow, ready and waiting, but still caught by Muterus. Rotations happening in advance, but smokes are going to disallow Pody from getting activated just yet. It's alright though, they're going to have to wait for their teammates anyway. Smoke to allow some mobility, start creeping forward, allow for that 1v1. Muterus though, up close and personal, isn't going to make any transgressions allowed. And Pody trying to put that AWP on his back. This has been a disaster of a defensive half with a couple of flashes in the pan from ENCE, and you know what? Right now, they're probably thanking their lucky stars that NateU can get the 1v3 that they did. This will be like 8-3 or something if NateU gets that. Sorry, if NateU doesn't get that.
Yeah, you'd kind of be staring at a 9-3 as well, potentially, when you look at the money here for ENCE. It's a 7-4. And kind of a bit of a last hurrah here for ENCE on their CT side to try and make this a decent half. Otherwise, they're 8-4 down at the halfway point on the CT side.
Oh,
yeah,
look
certainly
at this.
nothing to brag about. This is just commanding from Sort. The second they get into this groove, the second they up the tempo, they make it so easy. I mean, they're against a low buy, so it's not as hard as it could have been, but yeah, this is comfortable stuff, especially considering they lost the pistol round. To come out 8-4 is impressive.
Honestly, just a devastating half for ENCE, all things considered. Like, what have they even managed to get, right? Like, you... I mean, I'm trying to think, like, they've gotten the pistol round, they've gotten the first conversion, they've gotten a 1v3 from NateU. Like, those are things that should yield more than just 4 rounds on the first half. Nothing's been able to disrupt Saw just yet, and with an 8-4 lead, they are looking to solidify on the defense. All stalled under heaven. They've got to watch out for Story as well. Ready to find one. 2-man push into lobby. And every single duel seems to be going the way of the CTs until the Heaven players finally activate. Now, the tides are turning, though. Agile waiting to receive. USB is a little bit labored, and they are slowly starting to gain some control. But when all is said and done, the dust is going to settle to reveal a 2v2 preemptively. Agel's out, and he needs to get his hands dirty. He hasn't even gotten the chance to plant the bomb, and Saw will make this a very convincing round with Agile on 4 kills. And no bomb plant for ENCE.
Yikes. Yeah, I think this one might be done, to be honest. Nuke looking firmly in favor of Exort. And as you say, with no bomb plant, there's not really any justification to go for a buy here. So it is just going to be a full eco. It'll be Saw that's allowed 10. If Aragorn's MP9 can get busy, it'll be a nice little cash injection to go with it as well. Pistol's just looking to do any damage they can. A bomb plant will be a bit of a jackpot. They're stacked up in lobby, and I assume that the play is towards A. But Aragorn's in prime position. He's top half with this SMG.
So far, so good. It's frankly just really easy pickings here. Nothing that's being offered in the way of resistance for Saw, and with the rounds that ENCE did get, I genuinely expected them to do a lot better. It's kind of crazy to think that this scoreline would have been even better for Saw if NightU doesn't get that 1v3 going. And that was obviously like a big fumble by Saw because they're all kind of just walking into his crosshair without checking anything. But even then, when you end up with a result like 10-4, you can tell that the defense of ENCE has been absolutely abysmal. And I'm not sure if we're going to get anything meaningful out of the T side either. Fast scaling towards Secret. Outside control established, a little bit of action in lobby as well. Matera is trying to get some damage done, but is going to let them cross. Long-range engagement should favor Story with the weapon he's got. ENCE already starting to be chipped away.
It was kind of an interesting talking point. You look at the two sort of slower hitters on both teams. Pody sat 3 and 11. You look at Crazy and you go, he's only got 4 kills. He's actually 4 and 4. On round number 15, he's died 4 times. He's actually got like a neutral KD, which is just wild. So I'm going to go and put it down to his sort of lack of impact being down to lack of opportunity if he's just died so infrequently. It's been the man throwing the util, the one at the back of the pack. Story doubles up from an awkward angle as well, having to shoot down 90 degrees. But ends up with both. Aragorn's going to fall. The 1v5 here for Sundai Young. He gives that a good go, to be honest. A couple of nice shots. But his Story with the 4K. Saw onto 11. And one more big step. And they're right at the finish line. And in fact, I don't even think it's going to be a big step. I think it's going to be a little one, a shuffle. And it's not going to have any money. They didn't get the bomb plant in that last round either, so there's not even any sort of anything to help prop it up. It's just pistols.
Yeah, with how quick this game has been, especially with how quick the rounds have actually been as well, because like, it's not like we're seeing super long-winded saves or anything. It feels like the stream barely started a minute ago and we might already be at the end of map 1. This isn't one of those one-sided games where every round is still being drawn out, right? This is actually Saw in so many of their offensive rounds going for something very quick. And then finalizing the hunt early as well.
You mentioned in the pre-game
Go on.
that ENCE got like absolutely smoked on Overpass, right? It's a 13-5, and it does seem like this is a team that always have to get things done in 3 bites. They're always so susceptible to just getting blown out of the water on their opponent's map pick, but then they're strong on their own disciplines. So I do have much higher hopes for Dust 2 in the next, but this is a round that might actually still have some wheels on it, as it's somehow a 5v5 retake. They've got down to the lower site for free.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but also, like, the times they have gotten completely blown out of the water has been on, like, maps like Train and Overpass, right? Where they just don't play much to begin with. Oh, hang on. This is actually getting a lot worse than I thought. ENCE. Oh, we glossed over a round that's really important to them. They might still have some stake in this game. would seem like would be a 12-4 decisive blow to ENCE turns into a chance for them to at least poke their head above the water. And I'm just going to quickly wrap up the point I was making. It's that, I mean, Nuke is kind of one of the outliers here, right? Like, yes, it is Saw's map pick, but it's also comfortable territory. It is one of the preferred maps of ENCE.
Right.
I'm not sure if I want to go down that narrative, but tactical pause from Saw. I really appreciate that they're taking the time to do this way ahead of time. Patch the holes in the boat before it starts overflowing.
Technical pause, unfortunately. We had a couple of these yesterday. Cross issues, player cameras. I had one where a player's camera needed charging, which basically means they're using their phone as a webcam, and then their phone died. So we literally just had to wait in a pause for them to charge their phone. You would think, yeah, as a professional player, especially at, like, you know,
who has to do this
tier
almost
2
every
level,
day, yes,
that has to do this every day, that you would just buy a couple of decent webcams, wouldn't you?
You're gonna use webcam for like $20.
Literally. And I doubt they're, you know, I know they're buying used ones, but yeah, just
honestly, if I'm a pro player, I'm just straight up still like I'm just still buying a studio camera like the one I have now.
I think why wouldn't you? But just a couple of.
Why wouldn't you want all of your appearances and your content to be high quality? Like, if it's,
I guess
it just helps your brand.
I guess, but anyway, we're back into the action. Technical hiccups ironed out, and round number 17 comes with some guns here. ENCE no longer on the Tech 9s. They got 4 AKs. They got the FAMAS on 92 that was saved from the last, so he's got a little bit of extra money as well if he needs it as he works his way through main. Uterus looking for the timing. This could be really deadly, or it could be a complete flop. There it is. We'll find the kill. He goes untraded.
Really good crack to be finding. Agil in the back. He's going to use the smoke to hide behind, though, but there is another crack here. Nightyou trying to sneak in, but Story is ready to help a brother out. Hody now in a 1-on-3. And Saw isn't going to let it get any further. That bomb did not make it to the bottom site. And Saw with just another hiccup. He'll be inching ever so close to the finish line. One punch away from knocking out ENCE, at least in this map.
So 7 chances to close this out, and I can't imagine that they'll need any more than just this one here. Rigon wiped out early. A couple of Galils in play. Pody's down to a scout. You don't have to go back too far to see this game at a time where it was really back and forth and looked quite contentious. I really wasn't sure which way it was going to go. In fact, especially after the pistol, it really did feel like ENCE came into this game very hot, didn't they? They absolutely stomped on the pistol. They won the follow-up. They came close in the first buy round. Ooh. They've been pretty absent since then. Sora got the numbers here. Timing important. Ooh. Big kill.
I think this might be it, Josh. ENCE looking for a 2v4 if they Want to at least get the consolation prize of a better scoreline in this round, in this map, rather. Naichu and Miltzy, 35 seconds to go, and not only do they have to make way for a bomb site, they also have to get all the way there, and that's impossible now. Bomb drop, Saw, last laugh quickly, 13-5. Beautiful work from Saw, and it really didn't feel like they faltered at any point in time, despite losing the pistol round, despite losing a 1v3 swing round, despite allowing ENCE to also win a force buy in the second half. How do Saw only allow 5 rounds to slip through their cracks? I have no idea.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful work being done out of Saw. Your MVP story, 106 ADR. I think that's probably a pretty big reason how they were able to take that so one-sidedly. And actually outputting a lot of damage as well. Sometimes you see players with 20 frags, but they're only pulling 1,500 damage. They're finishing off low HP players and whatnot. He actually has higher than his kill count, which is always nice to see. But yeah, your map winners, Saw. We go into Dust 2 next. It is the ENCE pick, and I'm expecting more out of them, definitely. Whether or not it's a map win and a action into a third is the big question, though, because, yeah, you know, as you mentioned before, ENCE are also a pretty decent nuke team. That game, especially towards the tail end, didn't feel close at all. Saw were just running circles around them. They were winning all of the Angels. If that theme continues into map 2, I think ENCE could be in real trouble here.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it at all. Like, Saw honestly looked like by and far the better team, right? Like, on Nuke, where both teams actually have an equal number of reps and have been facing very similar opposition, Saw were totally outmaneuvering ENCE. Now, I guess the good thing going forward is that Saw are going to be playing a map that they're not exactly all that comfortable on. So there's at least that caveat. But that being said, Saw did look like, has so far looked like just a much higher caliber team. We'll have to wait and see though. ENCE, they've kind of shown precedent before that they're a bit of a slow starter. They often lose on their opponent's map pick and then charge right back up to finish it out in 3 bites. It's something you've mentioned, and hopefully we can see that narrative so we can see those juicy 3 maps. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll be back after a short 10 minutes break, and when we're back, there'll be a lot more Counter-Strike action. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. We're about to go live with map 2 of Saw and ENCE. And map 1 honestly felt like map 0.5 with how quickly it went by, right? We barely got to see a map. It was incredibly convincing from Saw. And the only flashes in the pan we saw from ENCE, despite being rounds that would generally propel you to having more and more rounds stacked on top of that, proved nothing but 5 rounds on the grand scoreboard. It has been an abysmal showing from ENCE so far, but hopefully the narrative of them coming back on map 2 and 3 in past games can hold true.
Well, kicking off on their CT side here, Saw are going to be looking to make a statement early. They were super as soon as they moved over to that defensive half on Nuke. They really didn't drop all too much at all in terms of rounds or kills, but flying up short. ENCE trying to get onto the A site to get this plant going, and a couple of dinks here. Bit of damage, but nothing more. A flawless round out of Saw as everybody rocks up and shuts down. And that is the right foot to get off on to get this going your way.
That cannot feel good if you are ENCE and you've already been battered into the ground on map number 1. Investments are going to be made. ENCE wanting to make the scout rifle work. And Deagle's just around, a couple tech knives thrown in there as well, so they've got a very mixed bag of treats, but none of those treats are particularly luxury goods.
ST White. Just around this corner. It's actually going to be Rig on the first point of contact. He shows his foot. Story. It's excited. Goes for the peak. Almost bites off more than he can chew. There's 3 waiting around the corner. A minute left on this clock. Story's going to reaggress. Finally meets his demise. Wow, this is getting a little bit messy. It's a 3v3 and Muteris is on 6 HP.
Oh wow, no, Crazy's gonna fall, and suddenly is down to Muteris and Agil to get it done with one of them limping on his leg. Oh, makes that HP work though. But Miltsy still has a fighting chance, and he's got armor to support. They're slowly going to start to creep up. Muteris is closing the distance, and he's been very quiet about it. Head spotted now, focused on the first player. Miltsy starts to fire off shots away.
So, round number 3.
Sorry for the little technical hiccup there, folks. I was frozen out of my goddamn mind.
No, you're good. You're good. You didn't miss much. A bizarre round to be losing, though. I think they just sort of pressured a little bit too much for that short control, right? Once that first contact was made and the MP9 didn't find the kill and confirmed that there was 3 around there, it might have just been time to pull it back a bit. I understand the urge for the SMGs to play close, but the M4s quickly got overwhelmed and would have had a major advantage had they just reeled it in and played back from the site or car or long or wherever you want to take it. Right now, a minute on this clock, and ENCE are still yet to make a move. They're putting pressure on Cat again. Yeah, this is very slow.
1 for 1. Muteris is trying to make that 5-7 work. Unfortunately for Saw, all of their pieces are in the basket of A site.
Yeah, having nobody on B should be a problem, but I don't know. I mean, this retake's got some wheels on it, I feel.
Yeah, it does. That was a really
kills.
nice way to take recontrol to recontrol middle. 2 prongs mid and CT to get it done. One of the players wrapping around from tunnel, so there's a window of opportunity where they can make this 1v1 happen against Milty, but he's buying as much time as possible. They do need to get on the bomb quick, though, but Naichu is going to make quick work of them. Muteris knows he's got to back off, will be chased, and he doesn't even get to live with the AK-47, so ENCE able to save a round. It definitely got a little scary, though.
Yeah, it certainly did. I think Saw needed to just up the pace a little bit on that retake. With no kits. Second, they waited a little bit too long. The prospect of actually winning the round sort of goes out the window. But they made it really expensive. And I think that's a really key factor early doors when you are trailing, especially in a scenario where you win the pistol and lose the second round. You want to just inflict as much damage as you can, keep that ENCE economy honest. It's going to be a run down into the B site again, recognizing that this is somewhat the Achilles heel of this Saw defense, at least at the moment. Weakness in the form of nobody being there. And that's the flawless round that ENCE were looking for. 3-1.
Kind of surprising to see ENCE being in the driver's seat, much like Saw was, now that the maps have switched up. Look at how quickly they're playing this. They want to make sure that they can still make that MAC-10 work, but 2 players waiting for them. Clothesline at the ready. But Agil, quite low on health, is going to need a little bit of support. And the time he's been able to buy allows the sniper to sweep right in for Story to add a kill to the tally. Regon's going to find a crack in the time, though, and just get the bomb down. Even if he knows that his chances here are next to nothing, he will still give it an honest shot. 3 kills already under his belt. It would have to be the ace to get it done. But he walks into Muteris, unaware that he's coming in from tunnels. And Saw will make sure that that scoreline doesn't get too far ahead.
That's a massive round to bite back. They got out of the gates really hot here on Dust 2, the ENCE pick, and I thought they were going to sort of roll with it. When they didn't, you start to worry, but they got to get one more out of this. Then they get a bit of breathing room. Then it ties up 3 apiece, and ENCE have no money. Only with the AWP out. Story's got one to work with as well. Dust 2. Map where these snipers can really be relevant. No connection on the cross. HE gives them a little bit of dust to kind of tuck themselves behind. Looks like the play is going to be an A split. I like Aragorn's position, though. He's really, really pressed up. You'll see the shadow of Milty if Milty does decide to aggress into long. Just kind of depends if he gets pulled away when the contact is taken on short or not.
much slower round than we've grown accustomed to, isn't it? Well, like,
Yeah.
both of these teams were clawing at each other's heels just a little while ago, but look at this. ENCE now. They've got the one opener that they needed, but it's becoming obvious, it is becoming telegraphed that this is an ace site hit, and they need to find more cracks in this defense. 20 seconds, need to get a move on. They need to be on roller skates if they want to make this work, but it's just Bodhi remaining. ENCE have fallen apart as they take so long to move into the site. Story, oh, that is salt to the wounds. Jumping, no scope, through the smoke, op. Right before time, though, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, there's that sort of saving grace element of it, but when they found the entry into the long tunnels, and there was a bit of a fumble, just an awkward timing on the peak. ENCE really had the reins. They drop it big time. Now there's that aforementioned breathing room I was talking about. Sort come into this round with the scoreline tied up and a freebie against the Pistols, or at least what should be. Things got complicated last time the Tech-9s came out to play, but this time there is only one of them and there's no Kevlar around it. Sunday Young wiped out instantly. Crazy. Farming eco frags. There's a little stat pad, pushes himself up to 9. Oh, nice shot from Miltsy. I can't imagine he can get much more done here. Yeah, it'll be crazy to finish off. That's a 4K. Double digits for him now. Saw hit 4.
Inching slightly ahead. The defensive side is where you want to be anyway. Agil sees him coming. And I really like what Story's been able to accomplish here. Uses his teammate as bait there. Very calculated bait to keep popping forward. And as we're focused on Agil, he's able to get a very nice triple. Side note, a mosquito's been kicking my ass for the past 10 minutes. I can't seem to catch it.
I'm here. Attack pause for ENCE, because this is going wrong. This is actually going wrong. It's just Pistols again. I understand that they've got the loss bonus coming, so, you know, you can afford to buy down to like the $1,000 mark, but we saw really nothing out of a couple of upgraded pistols and a little bit of Kevlar in the round just 2 prior, so this does feel like a little bit of an overinvestment on a couple of these pieces. We'll see, though. Maybe there's a different plan in place. Rig on. In the lower tunnels, jumps up onto the Xbox. He's hoping to take a fight close short, since that's where the nades came from, but no one stuck around. They've learnt from that mistake. Muturis plays back off on the site. There's actually 3 here stacked on B.
Waiting behind the smoke. As soon as they emerge, Muturis is going to make the call. Have the teammates start rolling in. A little bit of support from Longshore, but It's all about buying enough time for the CT players to activate crazy popping off shots all the way from CT spawn. Sumda Young and Miltsy, they have accomplished what they came here for. A bomb plant and a dream. That's what they got. I'm just a little worried that this turns into an absolute dumpster fire like Nuke did, because aside from the big fumbles that Saw had towards the start of the game, like, this has still been looking very convincing. It's not like it's coming down to the wire. And I think the biggest proof of that is the fact that they're able to build up money even within all of this turmoil.
Ooh. His shot. Sumda Young works his way up short. Again, really slow. Last time they slammed the brakes like this, it very nearly worked out. It feels like Sora making the right rotations here.
Dropping down into CT spawn, mid control has fully been established, and this really locks in the B-side players. They're gonna have to do all the heavy lifting by themselves, but they're fine with that. I love the fact that they preemptively smoke it out, give themselves a little bit of space. And saw their reactions to everything seem pristine. They seem calculated. They weren't phased by someone dropping into CT spawn and for mid control to be taken up by at all. Like, that's the type of play that at least inflicts some panic, right? There was nothing.
Double up setup here. It's kind of one of the only few maps that this really does work on. You can sort of consistently pull it out on your CT half. See one leading over towards A, one leading over towards B. It's always awkward when you're stuck with them and you've got to go for a retake, but as a preventative measure, it's normally quite successful. Nightu gonna try and be this first point of contact, popping into the B site. Story hit a nice shot, but it's an instant trade, and yeah, it's that pincer in from the side that causes problems. A 3v2. Ugh, it's weird. It's awkward because there's money. Yeah, I guess Sumda Young's miles away, but as is Muterus. There's money to justify going for this. There's kind of no reason not to. This is so tricky. Especially now Sumda Young actually becomes an issue. Yeah, in from behind. That's enough to pull the plug.
If Muteris was a little bit faster, and I'm not saying that it's his fault that he wasn't. I mean, obviously he had to sneak all the way through, so his position would be obvious, but if he was any faster and gets a kill, that suddenly makes this retake more than doable. Really glad that ENCE have been at least able to limp along and get the bare minimum required to make this a serviceable half, but to get one more round, it actually becomes pretty decent for a T side.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's not great, to be honest, especially not for your own map pick, but it'd certainly be considered a recovery and a serviceable half at that, especially if they can follow up with the pistol. Good need to get things started, though. Double AWP setup still in play. On the other side, Pody's down to a scout. That last round was expensive. I don't know how they didn't end up with the sniper, because it was dropped, right? And yeah, it could have been picked up. A little bit more focused on just exiting out of the site, I guess. They're going to try and go for the B split again, and clinical out of Sumdai Young. Leaves Story by himself. This is rough. Sorry, it's Crazy by himself.
Oh. How is he still alive? Okay, he's done enough of the legwork that it sets up a really nice foundation for them to come back into things. Sumdai Young's quite low as well, so he's a labored 5-7 away from death, but he's going to avoid it. Harris sneaks forward, into car he goes, and Sumdai Young wasn't expecting that at all. Pody stuck in between two angles. He knows he's gotten a couple of pot shots off on the car player as well, and with 35 seconds to his name, he can still rotate all the way through. He's got a flashbang available, so that cross could be safe.
What?
Tagged up more. What am I watching? Viteris slowly creeping up. Knows that Pody is on his last legs. Still trying to play the headshot angle. This could get bad. But he knows the onus is on Pody to try and go for this bomb plant. Flashbang to go forward. Viteris trying to speed up that progression. Knows it's all about who hits that first bullet. He's ahead, and Pody's just better. 5 rounds secured by ENCE, and they were so close to having a terrible half.
Oh, that is such a horrible whiff from Viteris to not catch him on the cross, getting up to short. It's just ridiculous that he doesn't find that kill, and then as soon as he doesn't, you then find this position left where actually, yeah, it's nice, and I'm not going to call it easy, but it really accommodates to the low HP, because Pody is able to, you know, he's sort of got that head angle, if you know what I mean, is he's coming up from onto short. You've not got the whole body to aim for. He's just trying to tap for the head. Muteris can't hit the head, and then the same goes once he's got that bomb planted. He's got the leverage, knowing that the CT is going to be coming up from the A site ramp, and only his head's exposed. He's a little bit quicker to the trigger. Not connecting headshots here, though. Sort going to take a lot of ground and should be able to get this bomb down at the very least.
Oh, wow. That is just so much damage being delivered. And you say you get the bomb down at the very least. I think not with the way things are going. Very easily mowed down by ENCE, and it won't be long before they're able to tie things up. And on the defense, I definitely rate their chances a little bit higher than what we saw from than what we should be seeing from Zaw on the T side. With how dominant Saul looked in the gun rounds, it's kind of disappointing how that half ended for them.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, there was a real opportunity to have a very one-sided half. You know, losing the fourth round is whatever, but that last one was really bad, actually. And then to fumble the pistol. As I say, there was lots of time and space to get that bomb down. They didn't do so. It means a full eco here, and it just shows how quickly these games can close up. You know, this has gone from 7-3 to 7-7 in pretty much a blink of an eye. As we go into round number 15, this is where Saw needs to kind of wake up a little bit and lock back in.
ENCE knows that this fight is particularly difficult. Now the utility is going to start coming his way. There is no one that can actually bail him out of this. A flashbang to support, yes. But I am very surprised that he gets anything from that angle, Josh.
Yeah, it's done very well, but still a lot of ground to be covered with 45 seconds left. Agil is going to be that snake in the grass, the big piece that needs to pop off, and he doesn't. It's a huge whiff and a missed opportunity. Crazy left in the clutch. Sunday Young strips his head from his shoulders. And that is rough. Sorad, again, a really good opportunity there. With the timing on short, he could have even found both kills. That would have been round, done and dusted. Instead, yeah, tactical pause. I don't blame him. I think it's a decent time for it.
Nuke, I mean, Dust 2 feels kind of like a repeat of Nuke, but if everything did actually transpire off of the rounds that can build you up in the favor of ENCE, you know, like they were winning the force buy, they were winning the pistols. Those kinds of things are actually compounding for ENCE this time, and that's something that Saw simply aren't ready for. Before, they've been able to interrupt, they've been able to consistently disrupt whatever momentum that ENCE is able to bring to the table. Now Saw will be on the receiving end of it. Obviously not to the same degree, because that was an abysmal showing on Nuke. Saw still not too far away in terms of the score. But if ENCE are allowed to go any further beyond this point, then things will start to get tricky. Faster long take, a little bit of util behind it.
Right, well, we saw around that ENCE were able to get done with the Tech 9s on their T side. Now it's time to return the favour.
Oh no,
that kind of range,
fallen.
Yeah, I mean, it has, but the cavalry's here. They should just be able to clean this up, and they will. 4 players stay alive. Yeah, you know, the smoke to kind of split it in the middle and close the gap a little bit was good on long, but the second you're taking really ranged fights, you're trying to get a Tech 9 working against rifles across the bomb side, it just doesn't happen. And ENCE are on to 9.
When I said that the M4 has fallen, I was more worried that Saw dropped the only M4 that they had picked up on the way in, because that would have actually given them a reasonable chance at fighting back. But then, by the time they're close enough to the side, by the time they're inching close to ramp, they've already lost the biggest weapon they've got, and unfortunately, they can't really do much with those resources. Double tunnels push, though. I like this. ENCE wanted to take initiative. That initiative isn't going to go to punish. Never mind. Agile, head on a swivel, is responsible for both the refrags, and all of a sudden, the kill feed is populated with yellow on blue action.
Wow. Kind of comes out of nowhere. We'll see. Pursues survival, and I'm not sure he'll be able to. Yeah, already on the cross. I think he's hurt AGL, so should be able to get the drop on him. He does. Now down to 12 HP. It does look like he'll survive here. Ooh, needs to be careful. He's getting a little bit close to Aragorn. Almost gave up the sound cues. Ooh, nice start. It's a good trade back onto Bodhi. Puts us into a 4v4.
I'm really enjoying the fact that Saw are actually holding a candle to ENCE on their map pick, because that first map just whizzed by with no real resistance offered. Even if ENCE win this one, they'll know that they had to work for it, and that decider is not going to be easy. Saw aren't even out of the picture just yet. One ran away from tying things up, even if they lost the lead for a moment. But ENCE are also being really cautious with their utility. They have Naichi, who still has a Molotov to deploy late round. Same goes for Raygon. He's got an AWP, so that's also meant to kind of protect him. And Saw don't really have a whole lot of options. Slowly progressing through middle. Hoping that they'll find something, someone. Posted up on window and door. Nate, his responsibility right now is just to try and hold them off for as long as possible for the reinforcements. A labored end of the round.
Yeah, I don't know. If Utiris finds that one kill, then quickly that could have become a 2v2 and a retake on the B-bomb site, but as we go into number 19, ENCE still ahead with a decent margin. Sora going to throw themselves back into it with a buy, but 3 Galils, not a lot of util. If they lose it, ENCE are on to 11 and beyond. Sora will have no cash. So it does feel like this is actually probably the most important round of play we've seen so far here on this map, and maybe even in the series. Miltsy gets off to a blinder with a great flash from Pody to play through the smoke, gives him the advantage. Crazy's got to try and return the favour, but he's not going to check his corner. Yeah, this is done, surely. Aragorn's got so much work to do.
I really like how much time is being bought on this B site right now. Raygon is going to burn to a crisp, though, eventually, as he backs into a molly. And now that it's back to a 3-on-3, with a distraction being cooked up on B and the actual bomb going to A, this is a masterful round for Saw. They've seen the bomb, though. That's an issue. Still have to worry about the lurker, sure. But for now, it's going to be a 2v2 as committed to the cause. They start retaking on B. And things are all over the place for Saw. No idea what the hell is going on.
Wow. Aragorn just going massive in this round. He got out onto B and was just staying alive. Realistically, he should have been insta-traded, but I think the smoke sort of bought him a bit of space. And he just gets a whole lot more than he bargained for. It shows how quickly CS2 can really flip-flop, you know, as teeing that round up as if ENCE win it, they pretty much win the game, or at least they get on to 12. Now that really comes into question, because it's their own finances that are broken. It's a safe door, but that's about it. Pistols around it. Saw should be able to tie this up at 10 apiece, and now it's anyone's game again. It's an easy start for Story.
Yeah, that topsy-turvy round for Saw actually
Oh my God.
confuses the hell out of ENCE, and now here they
Oh
are.
my.
Oh, hang on. This can go really wrong. There's an AWP in the hands of the opposition. They're being watched like hawks, but the smoke is going to allow for a little bit of mobility. Love it from Utiris. As the smoke's about to bloom,
Oh, this is
we'll take the liberty to take out the AWP player, but Pody, having recovered it once again, wants to play this 1v2 to perfection, and ENCE have gotten away with absolute theft.
It's obviously the AWP that has the overarching impact, but honestly, that round is all on Nightiu. He should have just been dead to rights, and instead they have a huge issue killing this USP. He stays alive and just continuously baits them into the AWP, and Sora too afraid to just pull the plug on it. You know, in hindsight, you can just walk away. You know, you don't have to pressure that fight onto ITU, but one by one they were so desperate to trade out this USP that all eyes were focused on him, and they just walked straight into the scope. And yeah, it's justification for a tactical pause because they've just thrown away the map.
Big opportunity fumbled by Saw to not only even the scoreline, but keep it progressing. Keep it pushing forward. Flashbang, start taking control of short. Miltsy, crazy on the angle. And Young gets the liberty of walking away. He at least has the choice as a Molotov is going to protect him from behind. Short control now fully gained. Weapons recovered. This was a much more locked and loaded Saw than they looked like when the round started. That's an M4 recovered. That's a Galil picked up from Mutaris. And the number's about even. Felt like a bit of a lost cause after the fumbled round in the last one, but if they can still turn things right back around, I still don't see a reason why they can't make an argument. Pody, watching the angle like a hawk, though. This is a really important shot.
They do connect. Trades are there, however, and oh, wow. For a second, things get real interesting. Still a 1v2 and a winnable one at that. Oh, misses. Crazy. Can't afford to not connect a shot like that. That is crucial. If he hits it, we go into a 1v1. There's maybe a world that they win that round and stay in this game. Instead, ENCE got 3 map points.
Versal looked absolutely dominant on the first map. Now, ENCE have done good. Stop them right in their tracks. NightU tag teams up with the LT player to very quickly push them back. There's a sliver of opportunity for Agile to have the 1v1 to just hold the angle and find the kill, but that's going to be botched by him. Just not a quick enough reaction time there. And you can tell that Saw are looking very locked out, just very disjointed. They're all the way in T-spawn. They have one player that is starting to take control of long. A little desperate if you ask me.
"45 seconds left to tick. All or nothing, balls to the wall, push up long to try and stay alive in this game. And it's 1-for-1, I'm not sure it cuts it. Double nades, in fact, a third nade goes into the smoke to try and catch him on the cross. No one's going for it yet. I love the patience, but jumping onto the box is suicide. And Aragorn's going to drop as well. Crazy last man standing, 1v4. Can't make it happen. Young's there to shut it out. ENCE make it 13. And, well, a pretty good map from them. It really felt like it could have gone either way at the end, but they hold true. And a strong game from Miltsy.
You're absolutely right about that. That game looked neck and neck, but there is a pretty big difference in the kill distributions, right? You had your Crazy and Muteras doing most of the heavy lifting, while the distribution on the side of the right side that you're looking at on your screen, ENCE, they looked a little bit more distributed. Miltsy on top of the scoreboard, but not really too far ahead of anyone. So that was a really, really good game overall from ENCE. I think there were moments in time where Saw could have actually closed it out if they don't drop some of the rounds where ENCE is allowed to swing. Some of those closer engagements end up working out. Like that could have been anyone's game. I'll say that through to the end. That was a surprisingly close score. That was a surprisingly convincing looking scoreline at the end, despite how closely knit together the actual rounds were within the round. So
yeah,
13-9. I think it's also a little bit of confidence gained back for ENCE now after Saw absolutely battered them on Nuke. And you know what? Heading into map 3, that territory is kind of uncharted, right? We have Saw, who barely have any experience on Overpass, right? At least in the officials in the past 3 months. And then you've got ENCE, who, you know, they've been trying to float it, but they've only gotten an opportunity to play like 5 times, out of which they have lost 2 against some relatively weak opposition. So heading into Overpass, I think this is going to be a massive question mark. That being said, though, we'll discover how both of these teams are going to play in a do-or-die scenario in the quarterfinals altogether after the break. Welcome back, everybody. That was a really good recovery from ENCE towards the tail end of Dust 2 to make sure that they can instill a lot of confidence before they head into Overpass. But I don't think they're the ones that are going to need all that confidence, because it is, in fact, their opposition that doesn't have a whole lot of practice on it. Saw have been mostly absent from the server as far as Overpass is considered. They don't only play like once in the past 3 months, which frankly I didn't even bother to check who it was against or when it was. Frankly, we have no idea how either of these teams are going to play on Overpass. So this game, we're going in blind, Josh.
We really are. I'm going to go ahead and assume that Saw have been prepping on Overpass, because their second wave ban was actually Ancient, which is a map that historically they've been pretty good on. And ENCE are also pretty good on Ancient. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume that Saw have sort of floated this Overpass on the basis of two things. A, ENCE will not be able to prepare for the fact that they would have even floated Overpass. They certainly haven't been doing any kind of anti-shredding or anything like that for it. And there isn't any matches to even really go back and watch. And also the fact that, yeah, I imagine that in the practice server they've been picking up Overpass a little bit more recently, because otherwise I don't know why they wouldn't have opted for Ancient as that decider. But we're underway. Saw starting off on their CT side as well. They win the knife rounds. They get that luxury. The double Julie's out. This is a slow round, a very slow one. Young's just clearing his corners. Story's actually going to dial it back towards the side.
Oh, good shot from Story. There's a little opening for Regon as well. No, dude, letting Aragorn lives means that Nate, you must die. And ENCE now with a man disadvantage, because one of the players got a little sloppy. Regon and Miltsy trying to make this thing work still. P250 acquired, gives him a little bit more of a fighting chance, but only one of these members has armor to their name. Up against 3 sets of Kevlar, it's not going to be an easy affair. Flashbang appropriately thrown allows Miltsy to move in, and the 2 kills actually put them back in contention. 2v4 brought down just to the 2 members. But we'll see if ENCE can actually close things out. Materis trying to keep the water player busy, getting a little labor, but now back to Regon, who hasn't done his fair share of the heavy lifting just yet. It was Miltsy to get a double, and Regon will have to do the same. Long timer on that defuse, but now down to just 5 seconds. Regon's taking his sweet time, now starts to rush in, and that is going to get him punished. Saw, first round of the board, and ENCE not off to a great start.
Yeah, not a great start at all. They do, however, get the plant, so there's a bit of money here to go for a force if they want it, and they take their time to make that decision. It's the final couple of seconds of the freeze time before going into the round that we see the investment come out. It's util heavy. Firepower light. 2 Galils, couple of pistols. 90 on the UMP, which is a rare sight. Aragorn. Ooh. Easy pick for him, but a good trade.
Incredibly slow round, and ENCE are taking their sweet time. Saw no reason to approach. They know that the time is going to start taking in their favor. It can't even be a last-ditch effort to A anymore. Agile goes forward to avoid the flashbang, and it's beautiful stuff to pump bullets into that tunnel, find a body. It's Bodhi and Sum Young who are still desperately trying to get this bomb done. 3 players already on the retreat, though. Trying to push forward. Story holding the tripwire, and it is Saw to take another round under their belt. ENCE. No more gas. They'll have to wait.
Strong buy comes out off the back of it as well. I like the fact that Aragorn jumps in with an MP9. Oh no, sells it. There is going to be one on Agil, however. This is a full eco, so... yeah, nice chance to sort of rack up a bit of money, and also... try and keep things as clean as they can. The mission for ENCE is deal any kind of damage. Pody pops one with a P250.
Mid-Harris up close. That rock's not giving him enough cover. Story quickly to get a little bit of revenge, though. Milsey is just going to walk the plank as the AWP awaits him. A player behind him as well, so there is really no running away from this one. Trying to fast track his way into the ace side, but can't find Crazy. And it is a very clean start for Saw, who have, prior to this, never actually shown what they're capable of on overpass. And that kind of sucks for ENCE, right? Because they get to do no prep.
Yeah, it does. But I think that's sort of the superpower of it, right? That's why Saw went for this call. It's a bit of a curveball, and it comes at, you know, they've sort of been saving it, I guess, for an important time. And I think the quarterfinals of a tournament like this is sort of worthy of introducing overpass more into their ball, I guess. And as you say, yeah, ENCE haven't been able to do any real preparations for it because there's just such little data to go off of how Saw play this map. So far, from what we can see, it's pretty good. Although, in the buy round, they have lost the early 2-man advantage, so Story and Crazy already having lost their lives. Puts this into a 3v5. Someday Young. It's on the other side of this. If Saw do want to go for a boost, they're not going to see him, but they will now, because Molly's going to burn him out. He expects the boost. He's waiting for it, slips away. The timing on that is criminal. And Muteris knew exactly what was up. As the numbers kind of claw back a little bit. If Aragorn can find 2 kills here, this is Saw's round for the taking. Oh, there's one. Almost a second.
Ready and waiting. Both players. This AWP needs to split a bullet in half and can't get the lineup. It's Muteris to sacrifice Agil's life to be able to pick up the final piece, and that's a close round anyway, but Saw 4-0 start that I'm sure they're going to keep piling on rounds to, because ENCE is going to be a little while before ENCE can actually bring out the firepower. Might be able to invest just enough money to keep themselves afloat, maybe get a couple of pistols and armor, but that should be all they get. ENCE within this game, historically, they have been able to do quite a lot with force buys and things like that, so maybe this is the olive branch that they need to come back in.
It's the pistols. They're going to barrel into the B side. Agil tucked behind the barrels. Oh, that's big. That is a lovely shutdown. A little 1-2 sucker punch with the crossfire there between him and Crazy. So wipe the floor. HG goes into short, flash to follow. Pody and Nightyu are really just locked out of this. I don't see any avenue into this round for them. Story gets the freebie. It's Nightyu that just gets spammed away through the smoke. 5-0. What a start here for Saw. This has been fantastic.
Bit of a scuffle from ENCE. And one of the few times where ENCE have actually gotten the initial push without being traded out. Already a monstrous start for Saw, but this must come to an end. ENCE played their heart out to make things possible on map 3, but if they can't make good use of this decider, then it will all be for naught. So far, so good for Saw, though. And ENCE, although they've gotten the initial kill, they've spent quite a bit of time after that really not accomplishing anything. A tiny bit of damage on Crazy does soften up a site, though. And sooner or later, the realization that they have to actually push into a site is going to dawn on them. Waiting outside B, they've got a couple prongs over towards connector, over towards outside middle. And they're just trying to make the utility expire. There's still a Molotov remaining, though, so that's going to delay their progress even further. But that was it. That was their last legs as far as utility goes. Muteris trying to scale up. Forced to back off as the flashes start to come in. And that last-minute effort from ENCE is going to be to start coming back. And this could be a disaster if the bomb can be interrupted. Aragorn has still not been taken care of. A second player will be headshotted. And all the kills go the way of ENCE. Which is oh so surprising considering how low everyone was.
Yeah, you can just see it, but sort of switching POVs periodically. I do want to say, I love Rigon's like massive jug of water that he drinks from. He's had that throughout the whole tournament. But yeah, we see it just constantly switching POVs between the rotating CT players. And yeah, every single time it's sort of teed up for a multi-kill because you're looking at it and got 3 players in the red pressing up onto the site. You think, all right, this is the one that's going to trade it back. This is the one that's going to trade it back. Rigon was just so quick. Really clean. Big round out of ENCE. Could be the start of more. They've actually kept things pretty close, made things pretty expensive in the rounds prior. So even though it was a 5-0 start, there's actually not a lot of money for Sort. We're coming to this with one last bite. If it doesn't work, ENCE will really start to close this gap. But yeah, I mean, like, a bit of praise to ENCE for making a lot of these rounds expensive and then ending up in this position, but also I think it's almost a negative on the basis that there were so many scenarios they were supposed to win and they didn't. Here we go, minute 30.
Flashbang to start inching closer towards Aragorn, who decides to recede instead. And ENCE have really been playing a slow game, and that almost caught up to them in the last round, but this round doesn't have as much utility behind it and also less firepower, so it's going to be about whether or not they can make a good raid. Look at how Story's trying to play this. He wants to get an initiative going. Just try and get that early information. And the work is now becoming a whole lot easier for Saw. It's going to be a last-ditch effort into A. And if Aragorn can tuck up to the right side, then this will feel like a bit of an impossibility. They're going to bump heads, though. And here it comes. Story has to try and at least slow this down. Misses all of his shots because they're very hasty. And as the bomb is being planted, the reinforcements are already in position. No one wanting to move a muscle. Moving right into the drug player's Story. I mean, Crazy is also going to be found. And it's Agile's responsibility to come in from behind and try and get a double. But you realize that that is an exercise in futility. And instead will be backing off. Bodhi, quick to find him though. Chases after him and makes sure that one less weapon will make it through the day. Important save for Story though.
Yeah, bringing that AWP across will do some favors.
Oh,
another unfortunate round loss. Yeah, he could. No, Rigon took him the other way. So it does actually end up with another pick, another kill to his tally. However, yeah, I mean, saving this AWP is all well and good, but there isn't really anything to buy around it. Everyone's around the 2k mark. The loss bonus is such that if nobody spends a penny, they can buy into the next. So I think Story's goal here is either A, to find an ace and single-handedly win them this round, or to actually hold on to this AWP again, because they won't be able to afford it in the next round either. Getting aggressive here, though. Boost over the top. Oh, that's so well played from Pody. This one should now be a done deal.
So are starting to realize that the vice-like grip they had on the game starting to slip. After a 5-0 start, you're expecting to have a much easier half, right? But they're still in a position where ENCE could actually come all the way back and make it an advantageous offensive half. And if it gets to that point, I think it might actually slip out of their fingers once it's time for ENCE to slip into the blue uniform.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, it's CT side overpass. So whilst I'm not going to go as far as to say it's supposed to be one-sided, it's only supposed to go in your favour. If it prevents few too many here and we tie up at 6-6 or something of the sort, then he could have some real problems. Really to go off as to how Saw's T side here is going to look. He's got to kind of hope for the best. We'll group up and head over towards Long. There's a good little double man set up in place. Aragorn turns the flash. Mutirius peeks off of the contact, but 3 is too many for him to deal with. He'll go 1-for-1, leaving the numbers against them still. A minute left, ENCE are ahead.
ENCE wanting to push through the tunnels now. Agil has his work cut out for him. Crazy needs to swing as well. Good timing, but only able to get a singular kill, which leaves Story in a position where he has to get both kills. And he sees him coming. The impression's been given. Oh, dude, I thought Story was going to be ready for it. I thought that ENCE wouldn't be cautious of him and that he'd get away with dropping the bomb, wasting enough time for the timer to just expire. But this is quickly turning into an uphill battle for Son. Not one that they expected, surely.
Still a possibility with the buy that they've got in hand. These 5-7s to do something. I thought they were actually going to regress all the way through connector, try and go for a little bit of a wrap. That isn't going to be the case. So need to be careful. Aragorn just crouched back up to the A site. They're actually going to go for a heavy stack. This could work well, you know. We've got 4 up here on A, 2 venturing into the toilets. They trade off of each other. Hold down these crossfires, or also establish these crossfires, because at the moment, a little bit disjointed. There's a chance they can make this happen, and there you go, Story with first blood. Oh,
dude, the nearest hatchet took away. MP9 recovered, actually, and this could be a complete disaster for ENCE. How is Pody still alive for that long? Okay, crisis averted. Nate Yu, though, 1v2 allowed, and the isolated first duel will allow him to make this more than possible. He was responsible for the 1v3 on Nuke, and I think he could do it again. Oh. There it is. Headshot found, and Nate Yu keeps bailing ENCE out of the critical ones.
I felt really foolish for Crazy to walk through the smoke and actually peek into long there. I think the idea was to try and get to the AWP, but yeah, they didn't have any info on the last man. And the 2 versus 1, 30 seconds. They needed to just play it together. That was a real opportunity for Sort. Even though it wasn't a round that they were supposed to win, it was one that they really could have. Now they're in position for a little bit more. AT works his way up. Realizes con's completely clear. The bomb's outside a monster, so we might actually finally see another B here from ENCE.
First time in a long time that Saw have had a sigh of relief. This might actually be at least the cushion that they needed going into the offensive half, because if ENCE ended this game with, ended this half with 7-5, feels a little unrecoverable, doesn't it?
There's a little. Still, I think we're looking down that margin of, you know, like a 6-6. I'm really not sure if that's enough for a CT side of Overpass, but yeah, as I said before, we'll see what Saw have got up their sleeve for their attack. Hopefully it's something good. It's into round number 12. ENCE, of course, with plenty of money. And got everything out. AKs, AWP on Pody. Same goes for the other side. We'll go into a chaotic last of the half. Good, HG. That's pretty much max damage on Tonatiuh.
Story. Opening kill onto Nachu. Not traded here, but elsewhere is where they're going to find success. B side cracks open. And the work has now been cut out for Saw. A difficult retake that they're going to have to establish. Position for Milty. Catches Story on the come up. Regon will find Muterus. And Aragorn knows that he is essentially walking into certain death.
Ooh, yeah, he is. So there's that aforementioned 6-6, a 5-0 start. It was so fantastic for Saw. Then it all just started slipping away. ENCE found their groove. It was a couple of, I'm not going to call it lucky rounds because they weren't, but, you know, a couple that could have gone either way. I think that's a good example of one here when ATU's clutch. A couple prior to that as well that actually got the ball rolling for ENCE was when it was really late rotation with about 10-15 seconds left. Rickon found massive entries onto the bomb site itself. Yeah, there's been a couple of scenarios that could have, maybe should have gone Saw's way. It would have been 8-4, maybe even 9-3. But not to be. Now the second half pistol's really important.
Some Young breaking first blood, breaking first contact. And Zara a little disjointed for a T-side pistol, actually. Could be what cost them their lives. Story's position is a little unprecedented, though. I think he might be able to catch Some Young a little off guard. Oh, here it is. Ready and waiting now. Some Young deals with the most potent threat there. Aragorn scaling up. Some Young just too quick on that USP. And he's won all the engagements that have come his way. 4K. And inches away from making it an ace. Muterus. Position known. Regon doesn't get a chance to steal the ace. And I'm kind of surprised. Oh, there we go. Some Young. Beautiful pistol round ace. Just a little surprised that he's not the first one to go for the fight. But ENCE.
Yeah, they pull ahead. No bomb plant as well for Saw. I want to contextualize this game in the VRS a little bit, right? So despite the fact that both of these teams are like dead even in the HLTV rankings, it's 30th and 32nd, Saw are actually much further ahead in VRS. So they're 22nd, ENCE 39th, right? Saw need to win this game. We were talking about Finn's sort of, you know, like VRS prediction thing yesterday. And ENCE are basically impossible. They have less than a 0.1% chance of making the major. It's just, you know, they'd have to win like every single possible game and enter every single competition to make it through. For Saw, they're in this kind of awkward little spot where right now they actually qualify, but they are right on the cusp. They're right on the verge of not qualifying. It's almost exactly a 50-50, and winning this game and actually going sort of semi-deep in this tournament is a really, really important part of that. If they win this game and they continue to have good results, then they qualify. If they lose this game, it gets actually a whole lot harder to qualify, and their percentage really shoots down. So there's a lot of weight behind this, and we were talking about this in the series yesterday as well, about how it feels like every game as we get into like the later stages of the year is the equivalent of like an RMR final, and that is really the level that the level of weight that this match has behind it too. We saw BetBoom fumble under that pressure yesterday against Partizan, and things went to 3 maps. It was one that they needed to win to keep a major run alive, and they lose it. Sora got to do the same. Now comes the bye, and they need to win it.
Saul looked like a team of the better caliber on map 1. But that facade has slowly started to fade, and you're right. I think it could be the pressures of VRS affecting things. Some Die Young and Miltsy kill a piece. Miltsy to double that up. Matyu's going to have a laugh here as well. And although Crazy tries to pull off a nasty spray, he's not going to get any rewards for it. ENCE singular round away from double digits, and the red carpet is essentially rolled out for them as Saw have nothing to fight with. Last legs for what looked like the better team for most of the game. With how convincing Nuke was for Saw, we could see a position where, I mean, I haven't done the math yet, but we could see a position where Saw end up losing the series with more total rounds in the game.
Yeah, yeah, that's possible. It's just in fact, it's almost likely, you know, if Saw lose this, as long as they don't lose pretty much every round from here on out. At a really one-sided map in the first of this series. Oh, Agelt, good trade. Hang on a minute. His pistols might actually be the answer. Someday Young and Pody have clawed this back into a 2v2, so I'll hold that thought for a moment. If Story had Kevlar and a rifle retrievable, this would be a different round, but they got to go grab the bomb on short, and he's only got a Glock. It seems like they're sort of neglecting it at the moment. Yeah, Pody. The flank works nicely. It's all onto Maturis. This is doable. I don't think they realize he's creeping behind, but Someday Young checks it and ends onto double digits.
What is the events are going to allow for any speed bumps that Saw can take advantage of? Toilets and connector control not quite established yet. Slowly Muterus is going to creep down. He's got a buddy in the back line as well. It's eventually going to be the B-side split. Saw being cautious not to give off any audio cues. Smoke is going to be well timed, but surely they want to supersede it. Surely they want to go right beyond it. And ENCE haven't made the read just yet, so Saw are going to get a relatively uncontested bomb site that they have to fight in. Bullets raining in from heaven. They still haven't cleared Miltsy, and if it goes by long enough, if enough time elapses, they're going to forget that there is an actual threat in the back of the site. Agile, 1 kill, 2 maybe, no. ENCE just don't stop.
Yeah. This has been exceptional. Someday Young's putting up massive numbers whilst calling, and he gets a lot of shade, he gets a lot of hate when ENCE are struggling. A lot of people put the blame on him, you know, Glaive's replacement. But he has games like this when it really matters, where he steps up. He puts up numbers himself, he calls a good game. Calls were pretty on point towards the tail end of the first half. CT side puts the pressure off the in-game leader a little bit, but it's Aragorn this time round at least to find the early entry. This was a bold call from Exort to go for this map pick. They've got to show that it meant something. They've got some tricks up their sleeve still. Losing this round means series point for ENCE. Qualification into the semi-finals, and Saw's major dream really starts to slip. Someday Young. Oh, takes another. Back into the 4-on-4.
One of the first bumps in the road for ENCE. What is the conversation going on there? I like this little approach from Nate. He realizes that he needs to get a move on, needs to quicken up his pace, but he's firing off into the air.
Oh no!
Initiative taken allows for miltz to get enough of a distraction to find a double. AWP pops off, and it is a 1v1 when all is said and done. miltz has already scaled all the way up, and I don't think he's going to realize that Agil has peered through the smoke. Does it become obvious? miltz taking his sweet time.
Is he going to wrap all the way?
Dude, if he goes for the full wrap
like
around,
this.
there is no freaking way that Agil is going to expect this. Absolutely not. Fully.
No,
oh, wow, Agil!
Oh, I mean, what a reaction shot from Agil, but why the step? Ay, ay, ay.
I think towards the tail end of that play, he starts to think maybe they're going ring around the roses, or that the time is just ticked down too far, that he needs to get a move on. But that was like the final angle he had to clear, right? So it feels a bit hard done. He played everything to perfection. Like, comes in from behind, double kill, scales up, goes for the full wrap, and then just lets go of shift. One keystroke that he fails to press.
Oh, man. Muteris did just see one. Neither pulled the trigger. Saw stay alive. Still a lot of work to be done. It's a good HG. Comes from afar. He does a little bit of damage, but makes those Galils lethal. Aragorn's going to be the first point of contact here in toilets. Jiggles, baits the shot from the AWP. M4's going to press. Rigon takes the first, should be traded. Yeah, it's a little bit messy, but the Mac 10 prevails. And with the AWP missing, Pody's got to get out of there. 4v4.
Dude, there is something that is awakened within Agil as they've inched closer to the scoreline. In fact, this is actually going to give Saw enough breathing room to start to make a bit of a comeback happen, right? It kind of felt like a foregone conclusion when ENCE got as far as they did. But off the back of some pure firepower from Agil and Crazy and perhaps a little bit of story, we're seeing them become relevant contenders in the match once again. You've also got to remember that ENCE have also heavily relied on some of the individual pieces to pop off really well. We've had miltz had some moments. We've seen some Young get the ace in the pistol, things like that. So if they start to buckle under pressure, then Saw could actually have an opening to make this happen. Not even too far away after this one.
Yeah, you're right. The full eco rounds always give you a bit of space and a bit of a confidence booster. ENCE end up losing this and they look back and they think about that miltz 1v1 and how he steps and throws it away as being that first domino to fall that took them from being right on the edge of victory to now potentially facing defeat. It's nightmare fuel. It'll keep them up for sure. still going for now, though. Not a lot to gain by trying to play for any kind of retake here, so I guess it's just exits.
I'm really enjoying what I've been able to accomplish in this mini comeback. And I want to see if they're going to continue to turn up the heat. The VRS implications of every game. You talked about it last night. Every game feels like an RMR and from the days gone.
Like, I hate it, but it's also kind of fun, you know? I think it creates, like, I don't like the system. I don't like the way that it works. Although, yeah, games, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a quarterfinal playoff game for, like, an $80,000 tournament, so it's always going to be, like, an interesting game. But it does, like, even when we're talking about, like, group stage matches in small online cups and stuff, it does actually put a lot of weight behind just, you know, average, mediocre matches. And I think that sort of does the scene some favors, I guess. It makes things more exciting.
I don't hate it at all because, like, the thing is, right, I don't like the fact that teams can just bow out of tournaments without having any consequences for the major. Like, that's the point of the major, right? That's what makes a difference. Like, if it's supposed to wrap up the season, or if it's supposed to be like a decisive showing of who was the best in the season, then what the teams did in the actual season should matter, not just that they made it through a qualifier at the tail end after shitting the bed the whole time.
I guess. Rewards consistency. But it does mean that we don't get those sort of Cinderella runs anymore, really. You want to pull off a Cinderella run, you've got to do it across 20 different tournaments and face all of the hurdles and obstacles that are within Tier 2 and Tier 3 Counter-Strike nowadays.
I mean, I know that Cinderella runs, like, for the individual storylines of the players and just for, like, the content around the team are really important. And, like, they look fun. But truthfully, if you want to have quality CS, then you need to reward consistency, because otherwise, like, you remember the time when, like, what eventually became, like, the Iberian Soul roster and then the Gentlemates roster, like, when they made it to a major as Koi, and then they just, like, don't do anything, right? Like, you don't want those kinds of, like, positions to happen. Like, you want genuinely every game, even at the major, like, nothing should feel like a guaranteed 0-3 pick.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that's actually going to be sort of the interesting factor when it comes to this major, that there is no guaranteed 0-3s. Now, to be fair, like, I think everyone had Legacy as their 0-3 last time round, and they were all proven wrong and had their pick'em screwed. But so, you know, sometimes you do have those sort of sides that squeeze through and then still do continue that form into the major itself. But I will agree, other than, like, the regional side of it, so we're not just saying it's the top 32 teams in the world, we are taking a couple of teams from NA, a couple of teams from Asia and whatnot, and therefore, like, there is still that factor of, you know, normally the Oceania teams are a weaker link, or the Asian teams historically have been a weaker link, recently kind of haven't been. Yeah, I will agree that, like, yeah, it's not possible when you're looking right now at, like, the top 20, top 22 or whatever it is on HLTV of the European sides. Like, they are all pretty capable of beating each other. I'd say anywhere from probably 8th to 20th, 25th. They're all very, very capable. Holy.
Speaking of capable, right? I mean, both teams are in a position now capable of taking out the other. Saw this late game resurgence a rehauling of the offensive side. He becomes able to sneak away the AWP, and that could actually be a pretty big difference maker, but if he can get it in the hands of someone that has a little bit more oomph in their HP, then maybe we can have a longer talk. Utility to usher them into A. AWP duel being won out by Story, and that is the biggest piece there, because if Rigon connects that shot, suddenly it delays their progression into the A site a little bit longer, and it also allows for the reinforcements to start hopping in. Could be a comfortable round for Saw. And honestly, the way things are being played out, overtime feels almost inevitable.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Overtime, or maybe even a 13-11 regulation win, which would just be crazy, but it feels like that's where we've been headed. Hey, Jill. Nice little hunt, but actually ends up just hand-delivering an AK. There we go, 11-11.
I feel like Saw's success in this game has become so much better when they've pivoted their attention from B to A. Like before this, they're just trying to do these late B split setups, but I'm really happy that they decided to throw a wrench in the works and completely overhaul it to going towards A, and that's where they found the weak spot. Now, ENCE are going to try and patch that hole by having Pody posted up close with the AWP, try and get a bit of a grip on things, but I think that might be a little overwhelming. Pody stuck right next to the toilets, need to hit one more, but Crazy's a little faster. They still need to get past Rigon, though. There's the reinforcements coming in. Now they know where he is. Truck Flare also activated, and they need to start hitting their shots, and they do. Agile. Body shots connected, but now with two players lined up, it's just impossible to get into A site, and ENCE, they've done just enough. They have at least guaranteed overtime. And Saw need to do more.
Yeah, I think you were right when you said it had overtime written all over it. I didn't see a world where ENCE didn't give us a little bit of something back. But yeah, now it all starts to kick in. That realization for Saw, they'll call a pause and they will give their absolute all for this final round of regulation. It all boils down to a single round. We've seen nearly 3 hours of play in this series, and it comes down to the next 2 minutes. Pody with his AWP, a couple of AKs on the defense. Over on the other side, much of the same. Round number 24 needs to deliver.
Big shot to be missing, but Pody, he's not lost his life yet. could be the final hurrah for Saw. ENCE have the cushion of overtime to land on. And this needs to be played pristine by Saw. Inching up in toilets. The read being made towards B. If they prioritize numbers from ENCE into the B side, then this A side where things will actually be cooking up will be left defenseless. Readjustment made. ENCE on the angles, ready and waiting. Molotov available as well for Pody to try and slow things down. And this push from Saw is going to be so disjointed, so late, so hurried. 20 seconds, Pody's making things harder. And with the op posted on the angle and there being a truck player, how quickly can they get the bomb down? There it is, Agil starts to stick it. A little late is better than never. And ENCE feels like they're almost destined for overtime now. Needs to be a very difficult retake. No, the CTs are dropping like flies. Agil's getting tagged up as well. The Tech 9 doesn't work. And Story, he's got to hold it off with the AWP. Misses a crucial shot. Will be challenged up close. 5 seconds on the defuse. And that's it. So close, yet so far. Saw, despite having a very decisive map 1, will be punched down in maps 2 and 3. And ENCE uphold the narrative of coming back later in the series.
My, oh my. Sumner Young has a monster of a game, 100 ADR. Agil on the other side almost matches him, but yeah, just a heartbreaker. Absolute heartbreaker for Saw. They'll be looking back at that round and thinking, oh, that double peek into Bank, maybe in hindsight wasn't the way to go about it. They'll be looking back at this series as well, I think, and be thinking to themselves, maybe we should have left Ancient as that third. There's a lot to speculate about. There's a lot to think about, but at the end of the day, they just didn't quite give us enough there. And it's going to be ENCE through to that semi-final, awaiting their opponent. It'll either be Fnatic or Amiga, taking place in that second quarterfinal on the left-hand side of the bracket. But things are really shaping up here. And as I said earlier, it's Saw now. It's going to be tough for them to get to the major with that loss.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about how their chances were already like not quite maximized, you know, and the predictions around them making the major were quite favoring them doing well in this particular tournament, and not even cracking the semifinals is extremely tough. Now, I do kind of feel for them because the opponent they have to face, like the opponent they had to face that early was ENCE. You know, they are one of the higher rated tournament players, so I mean, if you put them against any of the other quarterfinalists, right? Maybe say for Fnatic, like that's a relatively easier game, but to go against ENCE, I definitely feel for them. I think they would have made it way further. I think on the right side of the bracket, they would be much more likely to, in fact, even make it all the way to the finals, right? And even against ENCE, like, I think they ended that game with more rounds and still ended up losing. Like, those were some close losses and a very convincing victory on map number 1. So I definitely feel for them, but that is unfortunately how Counter-Strike 2 crumbles most of the time. Very unforgiving game. So if you're thinking of downloading it, don't. That being said, though, few more quarterfinals to wrap up. We will be deciding the semifinalists right here today as we have 3 more matches to go. We're going to be taking a little break, but when we're back, we'll have another quarterfinalist matchup ready for you.